wherever you are watching from. Hopefully this works. I was running a little bit late today. So I have just put the earphones in. Hopefully that works okay. Let me know in the comments below how the sound is. Hopefully that works. We have got a lot of topics today. We always have a lot of topics because we love talking about travel. Yeah, there's been some fun stuff going on this week. Where's our topics? There we go. There we are. There you are. Yeah, and I cannot wait to talk about right there. Yeah, super exciting. I was chatting with Angelo about it yesterday, actually. Yeah, this is a resort that I've been wondering about for quite some time, and it has now been finally announced. So yeah, we'll get to that. But suffice it, I am super excited, and I want your advice on a couple of things regarding that. Yeah, but let's go ahead and jump in. So last week I did a video, and we also talked about this new tax that's going on in Cabo has introduced this. This is in Baja California, and basically any visits to the area, if you're 13 or older, and you are there for 24 hours or more, then there is a new tax, and it is 470 pesos, which is roughly 35 Canadian, 34 Canadian, or 20, I think about 25 American. And there's, of course, there's been a lot of pushback. Nobody likes paying extra taxes or fees or anything like that. But the reality is pretty much everywhere is implementing some sort of fee. For example, the EU, they're going to be charging 20 euros. That's for the new ETIAS, ETIAS, the fee that's going to be introduced later in 2026. If you're from the US, the UK, Canada, we're all going to have to pay for visiting the EU. And I mean, there's even like for Canadians entering the US, if you're from one of many countries entering the US, there is a new integrity fee, visa integrity fee that would be required to be paid, and that is for entry into the US. If you live in Canada, but you're only you have a PR card or a permanent resident card, you would still have to pay this. And the visa integrity fee is supposed to be, or they're saying it's going to be $250 per person. So in Canadian, that adds up. There is some talk. The idea is obviously they don't want people to come in and stay. And I mean, I don't know how to think like a criminal, clearly, so I don't know how one would go about that. But yeah, I guess that part boggles my mind. But I suppose there are people who want to relocate, and so they're sort of sneaking in. And this is where this visa integrity fee is coming in, is that I think the idea is that it's meant to be refunded to you if you meet the standards of the visa. So if you apply to go there for 3 weeks for extended vacation, and then you leave, in theory, you should get refunded that amount. So 250 is not a lot of money, though. Like if you're really, like I said, if you're really going the criminal route and trying to sneak into the country, I think probably a much larger sum would be required. Although if you get caught, I mean, the repercussions are, not great, as we have all read in the news. Yeah, and so they should be. I mean, if you're not there on the right, for the right reasons, or illegally, then yeah, there should be penalties, in my opinion. Okay, let's move on from that fun topic. Oh, so this was an interesting one. There was a lady and her travel companion. I'm going to keep this pretty generic because, I wasn't there. But apparently, there was a woman who was on an Alaska cruise. She is an American citizen, and you know, we all make mistakes. You guys have seen some of my videos of making mistakes, like, "What do you mean you don't see my reservation?" "Oh, it's because I made it for tomorrow." "Okay." I mean, these things happen. But what happened with this woman is she totally got the time wrong. And, when you rely on digital stuff to tell you the time, sometimes that's good, but sometimes even Apple's kind of be stupid and get the time wrong. But what happened was she totally got the all aboard time wrong. And so when she arrived at the pier to get on board the ship, it had already pulled away, and or they were already like locked down, and they weren't going to let her on. And so instead of being, 30 minutes early for all aboard time, she in fact was like 20 minutes late. So what that meant, this happened to be a cruise from Seattle, and regardless, she was sailing from Seattle, and not getting on board the ship meant that she wouldn't be able to get to the next port of call, which was Victoria, because although the ship stewards or whatever had gone and tried to find her passport in her cabin, they couldn't find it. And I mean, I don't know, like if it's locked up in your safe, which it would be in my case, then that presents a problem because then she couldn't fly to Canada because that's international travel, and she couldn't board her flight. She couldn't get back onto the ship, so that was a what do you call it? It violated the PVSA, the Passenger Vessel Services Act. I think that's right. And so, yeah, so in that in that scenario, she ended up having to pay a fine because the cruise ships they don't from what I understand, they don't automatically get fined, but they could. And so the amount that was passed on to the customer was $1,900, because, like I said, she didn't have her passport, so she couldn't fly into Canada to resume the cruise, and there were no more US stops. So she was able to fly to Seattle because she had her driver's license, and of course, even though it's sort of going over Canada, it's still an internal domestic flight, the weird and wonderful world that we live in. So she was able to fly back to Seattle. Interestingly enough, what the crew does in this situation is they pack up all of your stuff, put it in your suitcase, and they have it waiting for you at the pier. So she was able to get all of her stuff, and it worked out okay in the end. I think they went and did another fishing excursion or something. So she made the best of it. And as usual, like, what do you do when you have a problem like that? You throw some money at it to get a solution. And that's exactly what she did. So she ended up buying flights to, like I said, to Seattle, and that's where she was able to recover her luggage and all her belongings. But she did miss the remainder of the cruise. So, lesson be learned: make sure that and usually when you get off of the ship, if you're wearing an old-fashioned like windy watch, there will be signs that say the current time is, or whatever, just so you can make sure that you are on the right timeline. And then you can make sure that you get back to the ship, because not only, I mean, it's just also awkward. Like, what do you do when you're faced with a situation where you can't get back onto your transportation and get to the next place on your itinerary? I mean, notwithstanding, like, I wouldn't like anybody going through my clothes and stuff like that. I mean, they're just clothes, but I don't want people going through my stuff. But also, the fact that you kind of screwed up your whole vacation. But yes. Yeah, and I like I said, I've done it, and not necessarily self-imposed because that sounds like it is on purpose, but like I said, I've made mistakes, we've all made mistakes. Um, yeah, so, that was a pretty expensive one, for her, but, it's interesting because there was a the, comments this was in one of the Facebook groups, and the comments were pretty harsh, like, there was not really any sympathy whatsoever, and she took it in stride, and she said, "Look, I know I made a mistake, so, um, I'm not trying to," and she was just trying to see if there was any way that she might, if in the end, if the cruise ship didn't get fined, then would she be able to recover the amount that she was therefore fined? And it was a simple, honest question, but you know what keyboard warriors can be like sometimes? It's like there's just it was a bit harsh to say the least. All right, moving on to our third topic. Oh yeah, okay. So talking about cruising, Princess has actually changed their drink package, and I don't know if you think this is for the better or for the worse. Thumbs up if you think this is better. Thumbs down if you think it's worse. I mean, first off, it's going to cost more, so that's probably an already thumbs down scenario. But for Princess offers two basic drink packages, or their sort of inclusion package. Like Holland America's got Have It All, Norwegian's got the what is it, Sail Free, and Princess has the Plus or the Premier package. And for the more basic one, that's the Plus package. What they've done is the price is going up by $5. So instead of it being $60 per person, it's going to be 65. And this is going forward for all 2026 sailings effective immediately. If you have already purchased a beverage package, prior to yesterday, then you would fall under the previous, cost and inclusions. Um, so like I said, it's going up to $65 per person. Of course, these prices are if you book in advance. Once you get on board the ship, it's more expensive. Um, so what they've done is they've changed it. So before, the package included 2 casual dining meals, which I always thought was kind of stupid because, I mean, there's like the last cruise that we did in October, which was um, LA to Mexico, Mexican Riviera, so Puerto Vallarta, Cabo, Mazatlan. They did have some different eateries on board. Like there was, you could get pizza by the slice, or you could go to the sit down pizza place, and the pizza was good. If I'd had to pay 15 or $20 to eat there, would I? Probably not. I mean, I can get better pizza like that around here for for less. Um, and also, what was the other option? Was sushi, and now that was good. That was, in my opinion, was worth the money. On the Discovery Princess, I think was what we were on. Tammy, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I think it was the Discovery Princess, and unfortunately, the sushi restaurant on that particular ship is right beside the casino, which means, and they still allow smoking on the casinos. I thought that they were getting rid of that. I thought that they, at least some of the cruise lines, were going to make the casinos smoke free. Um, I don't know where that's at, but suffice it, it's not there yet. And so the smoke would waft out of the casino. And so you could smell it when you're trying to eat your food. And that, honestly, that applied to both the sushi place, which was right outside of the casino, or up one floor to the open air atrium, to the pizza place where we went. You could still smell the smoke, so it was kind of gross. Okay, good, good, good. So that was, yeah, Discovery Princess. So yeah, something to be aware of. Um, like I've never been a smoker, so I don't say sensitive to it. I could smell it for like a good ways away, and I don't have the best olfactory sensation, whatever you want to call it. Uh, but no, if that's something that bothers you, then um, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, very bad design. And I've read on some of the other ships, like it's not specific to Princess, but there are some of the other cruise ships where, the way they've got the casino set up, it's right by a stairway, so or an elevator. And so, like, imagine the casino's on, let's say, floor deck 5, and your cabin is on the ninth deck, and you come out of your cabin and you can smell cigarette smoke, like, first off, that would be a bit concerning because people shouldn't be anywhere in that area that you could smell smoke. But also, like, interesting that it's changed that way. Anyways, so I digress as usual. So with the casual dining, before you were allowed to go 2 times to these casual dining places. So, for example, on our cruise, we did both the pizza place and the sushi place. You could go to the sushi place twice, but it was always a crazy, crazy lineup. And the pizza place, as much as we could get pizza at the more casual by the slice place, it wasn't as busy. I mean, still there was 6 of us, so trying to coordinate that and get a table is sometimes a bit of a pain, and in the end, we didn't end up getting a table for all 6 of us, so that was a challenge. But with the new change, they're adding 2 more casual dining meals, so it'll be a total of 4 options per person. Uh, so depending on which ship you're on and if those are like, I would eat sushi 4 times for lunch, 100%. I love sushi. But if if you don't, and if that's just not your thing at all, I mean, they would still have like spring rolls, like they're gonna have cooked items, tempura. Uh, but if that's just not your thing, then it's probably not a great extra value to you. Now, the other thing is with the changes, they have taken some things away, and to me, like the fitness classes, I have never even considered taking a fitness class on a cruise ship. The premium desserts, again, like I'm not a big dessert person anyways. I could eat at the main dining room every day of the week, and I might get, uh, I might be enticed to order a dessert once, maybe twice. It's just not my, like, don't get between me and a bag of chips because sweet and like, savory is my thing. But the sweets, not so much. So the premium desserts, that's gone. For a lot of people, I think that's actually going to be a disappointment because I think a lot of people do enjoy, the indulgence of, you go on a cruise and you have stuff that you wouldn't normally have at home. So that's gone. The fitness classes are gone. Medallion shipping. So of course you have your, do I have one down here? No. You have your medallion, which is basically your key card, your payment system. That like this, not a lanyard with a card. It's actually, I really like their system, but they're no longer shipping these for free. So perhaps you have to pay for it, but it's still available, I would assume. But the medallion shipping, I mean, that it was just kind of nice to get it ahead of time. You get it, you're all organized. That said, it's another thing to lose. So maybe it's better off just to get it once you get to the pier and before you get on board the ship. And the other thing that they're getting rid of is princess prizes, which um, I enjoy going to the casino. I enjoy the princess prizes. Princess prizes, correct me if I'm wrong, were where you, every time you enter your door, you would look at there's a little digital pad right beside the door. You would come up, automatically unlocks, even if you got the thing in your wallet or your pocket or whatever, unless it's an RFID protected item. But for, the regular, you got it in your pocket or something, walk up near the door, unlocks, and as soon as you open it, you get actually, as soon as you unlock it, you get a message on the side that might say you've won $10 in free play at the casino, or that kind of thing. So I mean, it was always kind of fun, and it helps you sort of get your steps in because it's only, I think, once every 10 minutes or something when you open the door. So it's not like you go out, come back in, go out, come back in. I mean, you have to go, wait for a bit. So maybe you go, find a bar, get a drink, come back to the cabin, I don't know. But it was kind of fun to see, like, did I win anything? Uh, I never did. I do know I did see we did hear of other people on the ship though that did win different things, and I think you can win swag as well. So like, maybe you win a princess, um, you know, coffee mug, tumbler kind of thing. It's just kind of fun. But apparently there wasn't anybody doing it, and nobody really was that interested in it, so that is gone. Um, so that's the plus package, and then the higher one, which is more expensive, used to be $90. That's going up to 100 now. And for either of these packages, it's worth noting that if you're sailing on the Sun Princess or the Star Princess, it's an extra $5 more. So the plus package was 60, now it's 65. If you're on the Sun or the Star Princess, it'll be 70. And for the premium, it was 90, now it's 100. If you're on the Sun or the Star Princess, it will be 105. And again, those prices are based on purchasing the inclusive package before you get on board. And the difference with the premier package is you get excursion credits. So on a 6 to 9 night cruise, you would get $100 in excursion credits. For a 10 to 20 night cruise, $200, and for a 21 night cruise, $300. And the thing that I would say is if you are on a longer cruise, you're probably more likely to do more excursions because you're probably going to be going to a lot more destinations, having like not on a prorated basis compared to a 1 week cruise. It might not be twice as many for a 2 week cruise, but probably you're going to see different places that are not necessarily as accessible. And plus, just to break up the whole length of that cruise, you're probably going to be more inclined to do more excursions. So it's kind of nice that they have that. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it still includes stuff like the cruise, the the crew appreciation, the tips, gratuities. So it includes that, and I had it in my notes, but I didn't jot it down. I forget what else it includes. But basically it's for the drink package. This is the bottom line is, and the Wi-Fi is included for the premium package. For the plus package, the more basic one, it includes one device per person. Now you can toggle between those. So if I'm on my laptop, I can sign in and then I can disconnect and then I could go on my phone and utilize the Wi-Fi. For the premier package, it's up to 4 devices. So a little bit more. You just don't have to do that sign in, sign out stuff. So that makes it handy. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, it really, the difference between the packages tends to be more structured around what type of drinks you're going to have. With the premier one, the higher package giving you access to higher cost drinks. So it's, probably going to be predicated on that. As opposed to, getting the 2 extra casual dining meals, that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, changes afoot. Moving on. Oh, short burst travel. This is an interesting concept. Hey, Bojangles, how are you? Cruising sounds confusing. Yeah, you know what? So I'll come back to our current topic in a second. I should just do this. There's been a lot of, over the years, I've seen a lot of, especially, people in the cruise industry, every sales rep for, whether it's Holland America, or Princess, or Norwegian, or Celebrity, or Royal Caribbean, Disney, they're all trying to tell you how, cruising's so much less expensive. And it's really not. I mean, it's comparable to doing all inclusive, but they'll throw in they'll say, well, if you go on a Disney cruise, then you're going to see all these different characters and have all these different experiences. Whereas if you were to go to a Disney park, then you pay for the hotel, you got to pay for all your food, you got to pay for all the entry into the park and blah, blah, blah. Or comparing it to Mexico, for example, like the Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan cruise that I did last October, they would say, well, if you go on a cruise, then all your meals are included. Whereas if you are at an all-inclusive resort, then, you might have stuff included, or there might be a surcharge. Well, the reality on that one is there's a surcharge for lobster on most cruise ships as well. Caviar, surcharge. Tomahawk steak, surcharge. So that's not really an even apples to apples comparison. Also, they'll say, but you're also going to do like 3 or 4 excursions. If you're gone for a week, you're seriously not doing 3 or 4 excursions. I mean, unless you're young and this is your first trip ever. But honestly, and tell me, Angelo, Tammy, Bojangles, I forget your real name. If you are going on a 1-week all-inclusive trip to Mexico, are you doing 3 or more days of excursions? Personally, I'm not. I mean, okay, maybe not fair because, it's all a bit been there, done that for me. There's not many places I haven't been, not many of the mainstream tourist places that I've been. Hey, John, thanks for tuning in. No problem, no worries. We're just talking about, Bojangles was saying that cruising sounds confusing, and I was just talking about how it's different. Like, you can't do an apples and apples comparison between cruising and all-inclusives, and each one will make arguments for why theirs is more valuable or theirs has better, like, value for money, that kind of thing. But, when they're, like I said, when they're comparing, and usually the cruise people will say, oh, well, if you want to do all these excursions and stuff like that at an all-inclusive resort, it's going to add up, $100, $150 per person for this, that, and the other. But I'm like, I would not be seriously doing at least like on a 7-night stay. I'm not going to be doing 3 days worth of excursions. Yeah. Yeah. Tammy says the same thing. Sadie Vegas, hey, how are you? Yeah, I don't do excursions anymore. It's so 2005, yeah. Angela said, oops. Oh, hey, Christine. Hey, how are you? Uh, where's Christine? She says, we have never done excursions in Mexico. Wow. The all-inclusive resort is your vacation. Totally get that. Totally get that. That's why I am particular about which resorts I visit. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's just sometimes you just want to recharge, lay in the sun, read a book. I mean, like in the last, well, I don't think I read a book this year. But I mean, honestly, like if I have spare time, I'm probably watching YouTube videos to learn how to do better videos myself, or some other self-improvement stuff, like how to film better. It's all related to YouTube. It's all about you guys. But yeah. Okay, Angela's saying, yeah, oh yes. Yeah. You did do a lot. I know when you were at the Vivid at the same time as I was, you were constantly out and about. And also, where was it? When you were in the Dominican and you popped on from Secrets Cap Cana, and it was like, I think you were in between, you had just done an excursion in the morning and you were doing something else in the afternoon. You're crazy. You got some, I don't know what kind of food you eat or what vitamins you take, but you got a lot of energy, a lot more than me, that's for sure. Oh, Linda, yes. Yeah, I know I would maybe do one excursion in a week's time. Yeah. I mean, unless there's something special going on, or um, like when we went for the end of the world, the end of the world, December was it 12th? I think, Dean, if you're watching, let me know when we went for that. That was the supposedly the end of the Mayan calendar. So we went to Chichen Itza. We were there with the 40,000, 100,000, no, it was 100,000 other people. We booked a private tour through Canada Transfers, mind you, who are great. They're also called USA Transfers if you want to be patriotic and all, but it's the same company. And they were brilliant. We hooked up for a private tour. We had to get up early. We were all staying at Dreams Aventuras, and it was supposed to be the end of the Mayan calendar, December 21st. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. So December 21st, 2012, right? And we were there, and it was busy, like I've never ever seen. And a lot of interesting people, that's for sure. And then we read about it later. I was reading about it in Travel Week and stuff like that, that there were people who had gotten there early, but they weren't on a tour. So when they got to the park, it was full. They couldn't get in. And of course, that was more than 10 years ago. Nothing happened. We're still here. But it was a fun experience, and definitely something that, when something like that's going on, you're probably going to want to do some extra stuff. But anyways, let's go back to our topics. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on this one. So okay, this is, I don't know what you guys think of this. I'm going to go right out and say, I think, Angelo, this is something for you. Bojangles, Linda, Christine, Tammy, I think hard no. So tell me if I'm right. Concept is that it's a mini, not even a mini break vacation. John, you'll of course be familiar with those, but that, I don't know. Would this be something you would do? So the concept is to pack as much as possible into a compressed 24-hour journey. They say that this might have been inspired by the 90s sitcom Absolutely Fabulous, Ab Fab, where two of the characters in the story, they hop on the Concorde and they make their way over to New York for a boozy 24-hour shopping spree. And I never watched the show, so I can't really relate to it. Conceptually, I think it sounds exhausting, but the idea of this is that the trips would include, tours, meals, excursions, and flights. And it's basically like one day. So if you don't have a lot of time off, this is a great way for you to see somewhere totally different. In Europe, everything is so close that I think functionally this would work. Whereas if you're putting it into context in Canada or the US, it would probably be like, Angelo doing a 24-hour stint in Seattle, or me in Vancouver, going to Vegas for just a day, which my liver would be appreciative of that. My bank account would probably still not be happy, but I mean, the sort of 3-day getaways to Vegas, those have been popular for decades. So, like I said, conceptually, I think that would be more a comparable experience. Okay, John is saying San Sebastian in the Sierra Madre Mountains has a great day out combined with tequila tasting. Oh, yes. When in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, my friends did that. It was all long day, and they saw the coffee plantations, which they thought it was really interesting, and they actually have said numerous times that they want to go back and do that tour again the next time they go to Puerto Vallarta. So it's supposed to be very beautiful. To me, it just sounded like a long, hot day in a sweaty bus. So, Christine's saying she loves the show Ab Fab. Yeah, I never got into it. Don't know why. So yeah, and then the other thing that they're talking about, like, so this UK company, oh, and what's it called? Extreme. Oh, yeah. I loaded the website. It keeps saying, "Oh, your session's expired." Like, whatever. It's called Extreme. It's UTC Travel and UTC.travel, and it's called Extreme Day Trips, and they have packages all over. But some of the ideas is to be going from obviously the UK. And they have got extreme day trips to Barcelona, Milan, Dublin, and Geneva. And prices start at $200 for round trip flights and including one excursion. So, they kind of talked about like you fly to Egypt for the day, go see camels, pyramids, have some falafel or um, shawarma, and then get back on the plane and head home. you know, I don't know. For $200, and that's Canadian, is what that particular example was converted to. So that's what, $150 American. That's not bad. And again, if you could go to, like, say, from Vancouver to Montreal for the day. I've never been to Montreal. Oh, I have. I flew through there. That doesn't count. Quebec City, a lot of history there. Halifax, Nova Scotia. Um, yeah, or in the US, just thinking, you sort of think if you're from the Four Corners, if you're in Chicago, would you go down to Miami? You probably already have. Um, if you're in Seattle, would you go to LA for the day, or San Diego, that kind of thing? Which actually would be pretty interesting. But again, the whole getting on the plane, going through security, all of that, I don't know. To me, that just would be, I'd rather stay for longer. I don't want the hassle of the flight. That's why, even when I go now, going to Mexico, I'm more inclined to go, like, the typical Canadian is 7 to 10 days. I'm more inclined towards, actually, I used to be more inclined towards 2 weeks. Now I would even go as far as to say closer to 3 weeks, split that up with 2 different properties, or even destinations, like Cancun. You could do Cancun for a week and then go in the Mayan Riviera. It's a completely different experience. Or even Cozumel or Puerto Morelos, where you're getting that sort of more uh, metro experience. But I mean, Puerto Morelos, come on, it's not really staying in a city. It's very laid back, very chill. Um, John is saying we tend to do 3-night breaks in Europe. Just did Berlin, and hoping to do Krakow, Poland in December for the Christmas markets. Ah, nice. Yeah, and Tammy and I've been talking about the Christmas markets, and I think one of the things that neither of us realized is that the markets are as much about buying Christmassy gifts and crafts and stuff like that. As much as they are about that, they're also about drinking and foods. So, of course, that changes my entire view of them and makes me think, oh, yep, 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 I could do that. And I would definitely also enjoy seeing the Europe lit up at Christmas, and with all the Christmas lights and stuff like that. Any part of Europe or the UK, I think it would be quite something to experience. Um, Bojangles, yeah, not appealing, too rushed. Christine says, not worth the hassle of travel just to have a meal or two. Yeah, yeah. Angelo, did I get the idea from him? Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, there are certain people that this type of travel is more suited for, and no, I think it's anybody who's like a fast twitch person, like, they say in sports or when you're exercising, there's people who have more fast twitch fibers, which means to say they're better at sprinting or anaerobic exercise, that kind of thing. I'm slow twitch all the way. I'm like, I would rather go for a walk than go for a sprint. I would rather go for, something easy than the extreme. So yeah, that's me. Tammy said, "Oh, food at the Christmas markets. Yeah. I'm gonna have to check into this more." Um, okay, yeah, there you go. Anything more than a 4-hour flight and it's 2 weeks. Yeah. To me, it's that whole like weighing it. Even for us, like from the West Coast, the closest that we've got is Cabo, as far as going to Mexico or a hotspot. Even from here, Hawaii is 6 hours. So, Cabo would be the closest, and, even at 4.5 hours, depending on the winds, um, still don't really wanna do it just for a short weekend. Yeah. But it sounds like an interesting concept, and I think, depending here's the thing now. If I was gonna fly to England, and I remember in years gone by that they used to have packages that, you would see on the what are we doing time-wise? Oh, just checking the time. Okay, so off she goes. She's talking about travel, she doesn't stop. Um, I remember years ago, there was, in London, you would see all the bus stops would have these posters, and it would say, you could do Paris overnight kinda thing, and you would take the go through the channel on the train to into Paris, and you could, have a night or 2 there as an add-on to a trip to London, and I thought that sounded pretty cool. And so by extension, maybe if I've flown all the way over there to England, to the UK, then maybe I could see just to get a taster of it. I mean, it's honestly not really any different than going there by cruise, although by cruise, you're busy gambling or drinking or doing a class or dancing or eating whilst you're being repositioned from, let's say, not Rome, Slovakia in Italy, to Venice. Like you're not actively having to get to the airport and travel there. Christine says no flight attendants. A few flight attendants on YouTube who bid for international flights around the Christmas market time so that they can shop. Yeah, and I think if you're in, not so much if you're like on the selling travel side, but if you're on the um, in the airline industry. I mean, I know, on my husband's side, there's one of his sisters, her whole family is works with the airline industry, and so they all get, like, cheap flights, and they don't think twice about flying to Germany for the weekend or, Croatia, whatever. "Oh, look, there's good prices on flights. There's good availability. We can get a good discount on a hotel. Off we go." To me, no, no, just no. But I get it, and I think, in certain circumstances, yeah, maybe, and the idea they say is that, when you know that you're there for a finite amount of time, you make the most of it, and you don't really think about, "Oh, I'm tired," whatever, because you just think, "Well, I'll sleep when I get home." Um, but to me, it kinda defeats the purpose of, you know, taking it in. It would change the experience, in my opinion, not in a better way, but apparently Angela would do it. So if anyone wants to go, talk to Angela. You get a travel partner there. And the most exciting topic. So years ago, December of 2023, right before Hyatt Vivid Riviera Maya opened up. Is that right? Yes. So Riviera Cancun opened up first, and then Riviera Maya, Hyatt no, what am I saying? Hyatt Vivid. Hyatt Ziva Riviera Cancun opened up first, and then Hyatt, Zilara, adult only, Riviera Maya opened up. And it opened in beginning of December, I wanna say of December 2023, and so we booked to go there for Christmas. I wanted to go for a little bit earlier, so we were staying in Cancun, and I looked at a bunch of different options, and one of the properties that I hadn't ever stayed at that looked quite interesting was the now Emerald Resort, now being part of the Dreams chain. So it was sort of there was, Zoetry at the top, Breathless Secrets kind of the same, maybe dreams as well. And then now was just a little bit lower sunscape, and yeah. And so I booked the now because like I said, it was a crazy inexpensive price. And what I didn't realize is that it was scheduled to be closed in January of 2024. So a month after I stayed there, shortly after that, it closed for renovations, and they were doing massive renovations, such that when I went there to go to the Vivid and drove past it, and you could just see like bulldozers and diggers everywhere, and crazy amounts of construction. So it was a pretty huge redo. I'll show you a couple of pictures though, so you can see what it looks like. So I've always said that this resort had really good bones to it. So the actual structural layout was really aesthetically pleasing. I mean, the room that we had, the cupboards kind of like were janky, like they didn't really close, and we had a hot tub on our deck. Like it wasn't that much more to upgrade, and it was cheap as cheap as chips. So it was like, yep, I'll upgrade. Thank you very much. And, the hot tub, it was wood frame and Cancun sun, like it needed some TLC big time. But, it it looked really nice as it was. Like I said, the structure of it was really nice. So this is what it used to look like. So that's the Now Emerald. And it's just been announced that it's gonna be reopening, in October of this year, and that's a visual for you. This is a rendering, okay? So it might be slightly different, but, that basically gives you the gist of it. So the tower that you see on your right as you're looking at the screen is brand new, and that's gonna be the preferred club tower. It's going to reopen. Now, they had talked about this over the last few years, that it was gonna be reopening as a Secrets, and that was right from when it closed. But then, there's been, like, so many announcements of different properties with, what do you call it? With, what it was formerly AM Resorts, now it's the Inclusive Collection by Hyatt. And, there's the Breathless in Puerto Vallarta, that was announced. What's happening? I don't know. Secret Saint Martin, open, closed, open, closed. I don't know. I can't keep track. What are some of the other ones? Oh, now Secrets Baby Beach, that I think has now opened. But there's been a lot that have been announced, and then it kind of like, what's going on? And they have basically said that, they haven't said, but I think that the focus was on the acquisition of Playa Resorts, which is the management company that looked after most of the Hyatt Ziva and Zilara resorts. And also any of the properties that they owned, they were divesting. So Hyatt wanted to manage these companies, manage these resorts, but they didn't want to own the property. I don't know why. But I think they were so focused on that a lot of these other properties, there's been no communication, no announcements about what's happening. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. So Secrets Mirabel, Mirabel, is the name of this new property, and it's going to be opening in October. I am going to do a video for this weekend telling everybody all about it, and there's actually a ton of photos available. There's no videos as yet. But yeah, I'm gonna put that together. I haven't talked to somebody about going to the opening. I guess this is kind of letting the cat out of the bag. But I'm curious about that, and similar to chasing some of the Vivid openings. Oh, that was the other thing. Like, what's going on with the Hyatt Vivid? Hyatt Vivid, Punta Cana, Hyatt Vivid, Akumal. What's going on with that? Hyatt Vivid Akumal is supposed to be opening this fall. Not a peep about that one. So I don't know. But I I just like now the location on this one is, so I think I talked last week about the new Rio opening up, the Rio Ventura. It's not a Rio Palace, it's a Rio Classic. So Rio Palace, and then there's Rio Classic. So, it's going to be a little bit less of the brand name alcohol, a little bit less of the, what else would it be? The cuts of meat and stuff like that might be a little bit more basic, but still, solid option, and it is family friendly. Yeah. And yeah, but that's another new one that's opening up, and that's right on Playa Delfines, where this new one, the Secrets Mirabelle, is located. Same, obviously, as the now Emerald, at basically the bottom of the peninsula. So we do it this way, yeah. So Cancun Central, Cancun Hotel Zone, the top of the 7, come down towards the bottom. At the bottom, you've got Club Med, there's a Westin, there's the Sun Palace, and a bunch of condo resorts, and that in that section is near where the Oasis Sens, I think, is there. In that section is where the former now Emerald, now Secrets Mirabelle is going to be located. And so it's a good location. You could arguably you could walk to downtown from there, but that's a long walk even for me, who likes to clock between 10 and 20,000 steps on a vacation day. But it's right on the bus route. Like the buses, they just go nonstop up and down. It's easy. It's one road. You're either going north or you're going south. It's easy. And they cost like, what is it, 20 pesos or something? I don't even think it was that much. So it's like $1 a ride. So you can't go wrong with that. But so it's, effectively a good location. The one thing to be cautious about is at the bottom of the 7, just because of the way the waves come in, a little bit more potential for riptides in that area. So you do want to be mindful of the flags and the colors when you're there, because you want to be careful about that. What about, yes, Angela and I were talking about that as well yesterday. Dreams, like, I don't know. I do not know. It should have been open by now. And what's interesting is, so where the Vivid is located, and then right beside that was Dreams, Dreams. There's not been any indication that it won't be. And then just around the corner from that, so talking within that same section of where Hyatt Vivid is located, near the golf course. So you have the golf course here, you have Hyatt Vivid, you have Dreams, and then over here, which is still on the lagoon side of the main Kukulkan Road, is supposed to be another convention area that's going up with more hotels. And there's supposed to be a big water slide park going in and stuff like that. I haven't seen them break ground on that yet. But I haven't been there in a bit. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, there's not been any word about it, but again, it's like all communication ground to a halt with the changes of the names, like the what was it, Panama Jack, Cancun, then it was Wyndham Ultra Cancun, and now it's Sunscape Cancun. Angela, I'm talking to you. And so there was a lot of changes, a lot of communication around that, and explaining what was going on and how it all, like, what the changes were. So I think everything else kind of just got like shelved. So it wouldn't surprise me if we hear something more about that in the next couple of weeks, to be honest, just because it just feels like it's disappeared completely off the radar. But yeah, we should hopefully we'll hear something more about that soon. John, by the way, back a little bit ago, said cost us £75 each to get to Berlin from Liverpool, Only a 1.5 hour flight. Well, see that? I mean, that's same as, like, for us. So going to Vegas is, I think, 2.5, 3 hours. And you can drive down to Bellingham and fly on Allegiant, which is cheap as chips. I mean, there used to be flights for like $70 each way. But still, if you wanted an easy weekend getaway, I mean, that 100% was it. So, yeah, always options. But yeah, so like I said, this is the new Secrets Mirabelle. So I will do a whole video on that for this weekend, just to give you the scoop and tell you, what that includes, the different restaurants and stuff like that. But what I'll say now is what I like about that resort in particular is the way it was built. The restaurants all kind of have window access, like, because you can see it's tiered on so many levels. And so a lot of the restaurants, they're going to have a terrace. So you can see, well, you can't really see, the sunset's on the lagoon side, but, you'll see that golden hue over the water. So it'll be, I think, a really pretty resort. Angelo, I think, looked up pricing yesterday, but that's through UVC, their timeshare thing. And, it's going to be a pricey one. So what I will say is, if you're interested in checking out that hotel, I would say you want to get in on the introductory rates. Book it before it opens. Know that within the first, say, 3 or 4 months of it opening, some stuff's going to work well, other stuff's not going to work well. They'll bring in the staff. They are going to have to train the staff on all of their protocols, unless they're coming from another secrets resort where they know, preferred club means this. And if you're not preferred club, then you're not allowed in, or blah, blah, blah. And they usually will bring in a few some staff who are experienced, even if it's on a temporary basis. But they'll also be bringing in new staff. And so, there's going to be hiccups along the way. Angelo, Christine. Oh, no, Christine, you weren't there right at the beginning. But Angelo, you'll recall us comparing photos of, like the beef fillet at the French restaurant when the Hyatt Vivid first opened up, and it was like, mine didn't look like that, So it's all of that, the standardization, and it's just going to take the staff a little while to, find their groove. So you'll get the better rates if you book early, but you might find that, a few hiccups along the way. So you just got to roll with it. But no, you're getting a much better price. I don't know what the word I was going to use there, but alternatively, you could book now for, say, if it's going to open in October, and of course, this is assuming all things go smoothly, and we're just going into the peak of hurricane season. So August and September, typically the worst months for storms. Although, who knows what's going on with the weather. It looks like there's 100 million people that are going to be suffering through a prolonged heat dome. This is mostly central to south, the middle of the US, central to south, with skyrocketing temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit over the next, I don't know how many, 3, 4, 5 days. And yeah, that's so who knows what's going on with the weather this year, if there's going to be more hurricanes than normal or less, I don't know. But assuming, yeah, you recall seeing the comparisons and the food kind of being like, yeah. So it's hard to say if it'll open on time, but assuming it does, then I would say that it's fair to say 6 months after opening. And that's usually, like, what they don't say is that when these places open, it's usually a soft opening, and then they'll have a official grand opening 6 months down the road. And that's when the staff have found the groove, the chefs have found their grooves, the bartenders have found their grooves, the activities staff, they're comfortable, they're confident, they know what they're doing. So everything comes to fruition, grand opening, boom, rates go up. So yeah, definitely see if you can do that with take advantage of the lower rates. John saying, wish they did that with the Rue stuff. I think they do, to a certain extent. They will bring in experienced staff because you can't just have a whole bunch of rookies running around. Although I know some resorts, it depends what the GM wants to do. I know at I want to say it was Hyatt Zilara Riviera Maya that the GM, he wanted to bring in people who hadn't been um, part of any of the other big resort chains because he wanted them to not be in he didn't want them to be in that groove of whatever that other resort chain was. He wanted to mold them into, this is how we do things, this is the expectation, all of that. So sometimes they do want to bring in new people. Always when it's new and opening, you have to go with the flow. Yeah, for sure. Seekers Tulum comes to mind. Oh, yeah, for sure. But even Hyatt Vivid, they had some power outages, some water outages. There's little bumps and stuff that happen, but but it's also a part of the fun. And I think Angela would agree with me. Christine, I think you've been to some of the resorts when they've just opened. Tammy, for sure. When a resort first opens, everyone's you're in it together. It's generally a lot lower occupancy, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's happening now?" And and then somebody will say, oh, "They've just opened up the gym, or the spa is finally open," that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun. You're all in it together, and it makes it a much more. You feel like you're part of a group. So I don't know. It's just kind of fun. So thanks for tuning in today, you guys. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the comments. I am super excited about this new Secrets Resort. I can't wait to see it and see, what's changed, what's similar. And in this video this weekend, I'm going to try to go back to my the video that I did from the last time I was there when it was the Now Emerald, and I'm going to compare to show you, what looks like some of the changes that they've made. But like I said, the actual structure of the resort was really, really pretty, and it looks like they've maintained that. So I think they've taken the good parts of it and improved. Hopefully, we'll see. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Wednesday. So have fun, stay safe. If you're in those hot spots, try to keep cool somehow. Maybe it's time to go to Mexico. Find a hotel with air conditioning. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I will see you next week.